Hello, hello. Let's see, is this popping off the way I want it to? I have no idea. We're going to roll with it. So recently I made a PowerPoint for another video game concept, and I made it in the form of a PowerPoint, and I wanted to do just a little bit more work on it. And as I'm opening up my Microsoft, it's not there. I never had issues with making things on my or creating things on my Microsoft, whether it's been writing or these PowerPoints. But for some reason, it didn't save. It did that last week as well. And I had to redo everything. And my intention was to make this video, post it at round 3, because I'm going to have to take a nap after that so I can go to work tonight. And I don't have the time to actually redo the whole PowerPoint, but I do want to put out some content. And good thing I have the notes on my phone, so I'll be reading it through my phone, and maybe I'll elaborate more on some of these ideas. Um so yeah, my name is Rodney. Welcome to Shedskin Ideas, where I discuss concept ideas for video games and my opinions on what kind of mechanics can be included in these concept ideas and features. The last one I made was about a dojo learning mechanic or feature for a concept idea called Tekken Dojo Ascension. And I thought it was really good. I think the volume could have been louder. I'm still learning all these things. Um so I'm just going to get into it. It's going to be more reading based. It's not going to be as, I guess, entertaining as a PowerPoint, but nonetheless it has to be done. So here's the introduction, and let's get into it. So, anime games have huge potential, but a lot of them struggle with the same problem. They either become extremely repetitive or they try to recreate the entire world of the anime and become too complicated to develop properly. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I believe there's a better approach. Instead of trying to build massive games that take forever to develop, we can design a structured anime game framework, games that are focused, immersive, replayable, and built around the strengths of the anime itself. So, this framework that I'm envisioning is Japan. So, a lot of anime comes from Japan, and a lot of animes take place in Japan. So this framework specifically works best for um, a Japanese setting. And one anime that fits this idea is Kaiju number 8, which is a great anime. I have never read the manga. I'm excited to see what comes next in the anime. The world, the combat style, the organization system, the equipment, and the way characters grow stronger all naturally translate into game mechanics. So today I want to break down an idea for a Kaiju number 8 video game that focus on immersion, character development, and community-driven gameplay. The problem with many anime games. Before we talk about Kaiju number 8, it's important to understand why some anime games struggle. Take an example like Solo leveling. The combat looks amazing, the bosses are impressive, the mechanics are smooth. But there's just one major limitation. The world revolves almost entirely around one character. That makes it difficult to create a game where players can truly feel like they belong in that universe. In solo leveling, characters have fixed ranks. If someone is a A rank hunter, they stay A rank. So if players create their own character, they will never truly reach the level of the main protagonist. This limits immersion. Players are essentially just controlling pre existing characters rather than building their own identity in the world. And I believe I mentioned this in other videos is that I want to focus more on uh, games with personalization, creating your own character, and living in the world instead of playing as a main character or any um, supporting characters in animes. So, why Kaiju number 8 works better as a game? Kaiju number 8 is completely different. In this world, a defense force trains people to fight kaiju. Anyone can apply, anyone can train, anyone can improve. The strongest soldiers in the defense force didn't start that way. They became strong through training, experience, and discipline. That means the world already supports the idea of player progression. Players can create their own character and slowly rise through the ranks of the defense force. Instead of replacing the main characters, players would exist alongside them, participating in the same world events. The story could even take place before the anime begins, allowing players to experience the world leading up to the events of the series, which I believe is the best way to approach this. Um, so the name of the game, if I had to give it a name, would be Defense Force, like Kaiju Defense Force. And it would take place before um, the where the anime start takes place. It gives you just enough time to build up your character, have some rank, have some strengths, and go out there running and gunning. Especially with how I break down the stats and how you would what these stats do as you level up. So that way, when you get to the point of where the anime takes place, you're not just you're not a rookie like the main characters. The core gameplay loop. The structure of the game would revolve around three main experiences. One, daily life. Players live in a city within Japan. They can explore districts, interact with civilians, and experience normal life. They might help someone find their lost child, help a cat that's stuck in a tree, help an elderly individual across the street, or simply relax around the city. These moments build reputation and help remind players why the defense force exists. The soldiers aren't just fighting monsters, they're protecting people. Two, training. Before becoming elite soldiers, players must train. Training becomes a series of competitive mini games that build character stats. These might include mobility exercises, combat simulations, obstacle courses, reaction tests, shooting drills. Training isn't just filler content, it directly affects how your character performs during real missions. 3. Kaiju combat. When a monster attack occurs, excuse me, when a monster attack occurs, defense force teams deploy. These missions take place in district based combat zones. The battles would feature massive destructible environments, collapsing buildings, civilians needing rescued, and giant kaiju with weak points. Players must work together to defeat the threats while minimizing civilian casualties. Sometimes the mission objective isn't simply to destroy the kaiju, it might be to evacuate civilians or prevent infrastructure damage. Character progression. This is where I'm going to start getting into the stats and what the stats do. So, the players develop their character using a stat system. 7 main attributes shape how each player performs. These include strength, speed, stamina, endurance, accuracy, knowledge, and willpower. Each stat influences gameplay in meaningful ways. Strength determines how heavy a weapon you can handle. Speed determines how quickly you can move. Stamina controls how long you can maintain that speed. Endurance affects recovery time. Accuracy determines how much sensitivity control you have while aiming. Knowledge helps identify enemy weak points and detect threats. Willpower influences special abilities and survival during critical moments. One thing I wanted to emphasize on here is, or several things I want to emphasize here are strength, determining how heavy a weapon you can handle. So the heavier the weapon is, the more stamina it drains. But if you have higher stats, you can maintain the weapon. So you have a weapon at rest, and then when you bring it up, it requires strength to hold it up. And when you're shooting, there's also recoil. So to minimize recoil and have an accurate shot, less sway, you want to have strength. And having more strength while carrying heavy equipment also reduces the amount of stamina when you have your um, firearm in action. And accuracy determines how much sensitivity control you have while aiming. So, in other shooting games, you control your sensitivity and um, you start running and gunning. So, there's this just feeling that you're already an expert soldier. And by capping how much you can move requires you to put points in that so you can actually move better. So move how you would naturally play in any other shooter games. So having this pressure uh, puts you in a position where you have to put points on accuracy if you want to be able to react better. Um, so I'm gonna get a little more in depth on the shooting mechanic. So, the unique shooting mechanic is one of the most interesting systems in the game and it revolves around the accuracy. In most shooter games, experienced players can immediately adjust sensitivity settings and dominate new players. But in this game, sensitivity control would actually be tied to the accuracy stat. New recruits start with limited control. As they train and improve accuracy, they gradually unlock the ability to adjust their sensitivity settings more freely. This represents a soldier becoming more skilled with their weapon over time. Dynamic environments. Kaiju battles would feel chaotic and intense. So buildings collapse, debris falls from the sky, explosions reshape the battlefield, and players must react quickly to survive. Environmental perks could help with this. For example, a perk might allow players to automatically evade falling debris. Another perk might involve awareness of environmental dangers. This keeps the battlefield unpredictable and forces players to stay alert. So imagine having that perk that automatically allows players to evade falling debris. If you're slow and you auto react, you might not be able to escape a huge slab of a concrete wall that gets broken off a building and you might get smashed. So you want to have some strength to reduce the damage from those. When you're automatically reacting, your your sight on the kaiju or the target is obstructed. So when you recover from that evasion, you're going to have to re aim or set your aims, reset, and start attacking. There was another perk that I thought was cool. I would have called it the Good Samaritan, which is when there are civilians trapped under like fallen rubble, instead of using the um, strength and stamina to remove the rocks, because what happens is you need the strength and stamina if you re-engage with a kaiju or a threat becomes present and you have to engage. So instead of it reducing your stamina and strength, because you need the strength to carry the weapon and then you need the stamina to maintain the position of holding the firearm up in aim position, it would take away from the willpower stat. So the willpower, um, the way the logic behind it is when you see someone who's in danger and you are a protector of a city, it's just like a part of you that an instinct to want to help them as soon as possible. So I thought that tied into willpower because it's you doing everything you can to try to help that person. So I thought that would be a great perk. So that way, if you don't have the perk, if you don't have the perk, then it would be costly. And as we know on the perk systems, it's give or take depending on your playstyle. So, Defense Force equipment. The Defense Force suits are another important mechanic. These suits channel energy that enhance the user's physical abilities. Stronger soldiers can release more of the suit's potential. As players grow stronger, they gain access to powerful weapons like specialized firearms, energy blades, battle axes, and advanced equipment. Each weapon style creates different combat strategies. Players can choose the equipment that best fits their build. Virtual reality training. Another interesting feature could be a VR combat simulation. Within the defense headquarters, soldiers can train inside virtual environments. These simulations allow players to fight kaiju or compete against one or against other players without real world consequences. It also allows players to temporarily experience the fighting styles of famous Defense Force soldiers. This helps players learn new strategies and experiment with builds, and to be in the foot or in the shoes of famous characters. And it could also be like free for all, um, battle royale. So essentially, defense um, force members against defense force members as a training regimen, because it wouldn't make sense to have that if there wasn't some type of reasoning for it, because you know that that would be counterproductive in real life because you need kaiju members. So it wouldn't align, but if you made it into a training force program and you did it in a simulation setting, then that would be just a good way, or I believe would be a fun feature going against other online players. Community and reputation. Helping civilians outside of combat builds reputation. Players might assist with rebuilding damaged areas after attacks or participating in community activities. These actions contribute to rank progression within the Defense Force. Becoming a captain isn't just about strength, it's about leadership and trust from the community. The goal of the game. The goal isn't to create an endless open world grind. The game would have a clear beginning and ending. By the end of the story, players reach the peak of their character's potential. However, optional modes like training simulations and multiplayer missions provide continued replay value. And this is why Kaiju number 8 is perfect for this. The structure of the anime naturally supports everything needed for a great game: training, progression, team combat, destructive battles, and powerful weapons. Most importantly, the story allows players to exist within the world without replacing the main character. Players become part of the defense force, not the center of the universe. So, just to close this up, Kaiju number 8 has all the ingredients for an incredible anime game: a strong progression system, a world built around teamwork, and battles that are chaotic, destructive, and intense. If designed properly, it could deliver something many anime games struggle to achieve: a world where players don't just control a character, they become one. And those are the rest of my notes. So I will give some extra information. As we know, the weapons are flashy, they're vibrant, the fluorescent glows. Now imagine where in the game, everyone selects their own weapons, their own armor, their own perks, and really just like different color equipment. It allows the game to be less bland in color and to add a little bit more flair. If you were in a group and everyone had battle axes and everyone had a different color, then you can have all these different just um, illuminating attack patterns. And I think that would be also cool. Um, there's more about the anime universe that I'm still learning. Uh, there's something that I just created, but it's not in the actual anime itself. But when there are certain ammunition that can actually freeze opponents, and usually ice is in the form of like a crystal blue color. But if you have a weapon that is, and you chose pink or red or orange or whatever, it wouldn't make sense for the ice to be that color. So I think that the universe allows flexibility to not question certain things, um, where the creative these adding new creative flares could actually make sense in the universe. I mean, they're kaiju's, they're monsters, and they deal with new um, equipment made from the kaiju. So instead of it having to be ice that freezes the character, it could be crystals. You know, when this particle hits the blood of this or whatever, it creates a chemical reaction, creates crystals. Now you could have explosive ammunition, so um, you could freeze an opponent in place, then you can shoot a explosive, open up the kaiju or the target, and then you could shoot it with a crystal round to prevent it from, we'll say, regenerating or attacking internally. This allows players who have the different colors to just be colorful in gameplay. Um, I know that there's more, and I covered really the most important aspects of this game idea. In the beginning, I was talking about a framework. Well, if we were to say, for so Japan doesn't increase in size, and doesn't, the country at least, like the actual landmass. If we were to create the platform, Japan as the platform, the playable area, and that was set, then when we make other anime games, we don't have to worry about creating an accurate size. We already have the floor made, right? Um, and we'll say Demon Slayer. It takes place more in the past, so Kaiju 8 is more modern day. Doesn't have the um, Demon Slayer doesn't have the modern infrastructure, but the land would be made, so you can actually just create these districts where certain playable areas or events would occur. If you're in this district and you want to go into the next district, it would act like any RPG where you're entering a tunnel or a dungeon, and then it would um, load up a whole new map. So instead of it being completely free roam, the districts or the combat zones would be its own map, and you can free roam, but you still have to, we'll say, get to the border and then interact to enter. And then you'd have a whole new map or arena, different land masses, different streets that you'd have to learn to navigate, different vantage points, so on. I'm really disappointed that my PowerPoint didn't save. So this coming week, I'm gonna have to just make another video based on this of all the things I want to discuss and I'm having a hard time uh, just bringing out, because I do have lots of ideas and I want to stay kind of on point on things. But the I do want to paint a bigger picture. So I'll be focusing on that this week, and thank y'all for listening. Please let me know what you think.